What's up everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at Maru's POV against Zerg. If you guys have been paying any attention to the StarCraft 2 Pro scene at all, you would see that Maru is currently red hot. Best Terran in the world for sure. Maybe even the best player in the world, definitely has a strong case. I think he won something like 4 tournaments in a row, like 2 premiers and 2 majors or something crazy like that. And yeah, honestly, he's just been looking perfect. And especially in TvZ, which is really surprising to me because I always felt like TvZ was a little bit of a weak matchup. Like, he would be very solid, he would have an insane late game, but he would tend to kind of lose, like against Serral very often, for example. But yeah, these last few months, he's just been owning everyone. He 3-0'd Serral, he 4-2'd Serral, he beat the Rogue many times. And pretty much just looking flawless, especially in the long games. I even saw him, that was actually yesterday or a few days ago, he beat Raynor with Mech. And Mech has been, you know, completely out of the meta. No one's really playing it, at least not with any success. But Maru did manage to beat Raynor with it as well. Actually, maybe I'll do a video on that too later. But for now, I really want to look at Maru's late game against Serral. I personally consider these two players to be the best late game players in StarCraft currently, Maru and Serral. Before this series, this is from the Alpha X Skill Battles finals, by the way. This was the finals of a Premier tournament. I'm not sure if it's considered a Premier or Major, but it had all the best players anyway. And Maru actually outdid Serral in the late game. So yeah, before I kind of considered Serral to be a little bit better, but now I do have to give that title of best late game player in SE2 to Maru. And it's not just TvZ he really does that at, you know. I've done videos on him before. TvT late game, picture perfect. TvP late game, absolutely perfect as well. But he has changed it up a bit. I did a video on Maru's TvZ before, and it was mostly an active playstyle where he just played long games, but not really like the 30 late game that he likes to play now. It was very much active bio play, and then if he really had to, he would switch to Ghost. But now it's different. Now he really likes to sit back a bit more, get like the perfect army composition, not make any mistakes, and just whittle the Zerg down like that. And yeah, personally, that's not a style I really have been able to master at any point. There have been some times where I was good in the late game, but not really against Zerg. So for me, it's always interesting to see how he does it. And, you know, who better to learn from than from the absolute master of the late game. So let's see. Now, like I said, this was the finals of a tournament. I'm pretty sure this was the last game. I'm not completely sure. For some context, this was a best of 7. And it was either 2-2 or 3-2 for Maru. So just like always, I'm going to pretend it was the last game for some extra hype, right? It might have been 2-2 though, I'm not sure. Maru's actually going to go for a 3cc in this game. For a while, he was actually spamming 2-on-1s a lot. It's funny because I did a video on that like last year. I feel like it kind of comes in seasons. Like, sometimes Maru never does it. Sometimes he does it every single game. Oh, now he's actually going to go 3cc 2-on-1. Okay, interesting. This is not the kind of 2-on-1 I was talking about, by the way. I actually meant straight up 2-base 2-on-1. Maru had been using that a lot. He actually 3-0'd Serral with, I believe it was 3 times 2-base 2-on-1. Which, honestly, to me, that's one of the most impressive single results ever. To 3-0 Serral with a 2-on-1 every single game, that sounds like something from a fantasy book. Like, I wouldn't have... If you told me that was possible, I would have laughed at you. But he did it. But this is a bit more of a standard build. 3cc 2-on-1, this is a bit more commonly acceptable, I suppose. Clem played this a lot when he was on his peak in TvZ. So... yeah, the point of this build mostly, at least for my POV, is just so you get the map control. Like, it's not necessarily the build that gives you the most units. It's not the build that gives you the best army. But what it does do, it gives you 2 drops fast. And it gives you complete map control. And this kind of plays into my theory of what I think about Maru. Which is that he is so good at the late game that what he cares about the most is just getting control of the game, right? He doesn't necessarily want to be ahead. Like aggressive players, like let's say me... maybe like Clem. I feel like we really try to push for a lead in the early game. Maru not so much. Maru just plays to have control of the game so he can get into the late game safely. Doesn't have to worry about a lot of things. And this is also a very typical Maru map, by the way. Hardwire. Personally, not my favorite map. It's very big. It's hard to get a lot of damage done. But at the same time, it is pretty easy to take bases. As you can see, narrow choke here. The 3rd base. 4th base is very close. 5th base, or well, usually this is the 3rd, but you know what I mean. Like, I feel like all these 6 bases, this one is a bit harder, but that's already like the 7th base. Like, up until the 7th base, bases are relatively easy to take and defend, which obviously plays into the style of someone like Maru. Now he has been pretty passive with these Hellions so far. Not really diving in, not really killing too much creep, I don't think. Maybe a tumor or two. Then he's just gonna move out with his Medivacs. Now I feel like there's actually a bunch of different follow-ups to this build. So far to me it looks like he's playing the normal one. You can also play the Mass Drilling Claw drop opener from this. Which, actually it's not Maru that made that, I think it was Cure, but Maru did use it a lot. And sometimes I do wonder when I watch pro games and I see them do other different builds, how much they decide per map, or how much they decide for instinct, you know? Because I feel like my most success... well, actually, it's been kind of mixed. Sometimes I really decide, okay, it's Hardwire, I'm going to do X build, and it's Glittering Ashes, and I'm going to do Y build, and that's it, and it has worked. But sometimes I've also just played completely on instinct, deciding my builds like that, and yeah, it also has worked out for me, sometimes, of course. And, you know, that's kind of the shame of the Korean players being so good, is because I can't, you know, I don't have their contact. I don't speak to Maru on the daily. It would be cool, but I don't. And I would love to ask him about this. Like, is he playing, 362 on 1 just because he wants to play late game on this map? Is he just rotating his build orders? Like, something like that is going to be pretty hard to tell. Though I think if you watch a lot of Maru games, you'll probably be able to see a pattern in that. I feel like there's always some kind of pattern at least. It is interesting to me that he's going for tank straight away. I feel like these days, it's actually very common to also play mines blindly. Like, literally straight up go for mines and not even bother making any tanks. I guess the biggest downside of that is that you would pretty much always lose to roaches. Like, maybe there is a chance you can win. The only turn I've ever seen win that is Cure, I think. Where he got Roach Holland when he was playing Drilling Claw Mines and he actually held it, which was insane. But typically, you don't really want to do that. Look at his 4cc timing, by the way. This is just one factory. He only just added his 4th and 5th barracks. They're barely halfway done. And he's already getting the 4cc down. And I feel like it's more and more looking like he just wants to play like this on Hardwire, right? Like, I mean, you know, with his late game, he could probably do it anywhere. But on Curious Minds, he would probably not quite play like this. So he goes 4cc and then 2nd factory. That's actually kind of crazy to me. I mean, I could think of doing it myself, but I feel like, yeah, pretty much 100% of the games, actually, I would go 2nd factory before, just so I can get Drilling Claws out and go a bit faster. And I feel like already, I did a Clem POV analysis like last week or 2 weeks ago, I believe. And you can already kind of see the difference. Like, Maru really is not in a rush to do damage. Yeah, he just cleared some creep, he tried to get some trades. But besides that, he's going super hard on the macro. Adding all of his production after the 4cc, basically. Like, when his 4cc went down, he had 3 barracks and 1 factory. Now he's already going up to 2 factories and 8 barracks. Which is obviously a huge increase. His army was actually a little bit late. Look, guys. Maru forgets his army for a minute, too. You guys are basically as good as Maru. And with you guys, I mean me. Because I do that all the time as well. Let's be honest, we all do. And now we know that even Maru forgets his armor. That's exactly the intel I needed. He's actually making a lot of Marauders early. Wait, did he make barracks? Oh, he made an extra tag lab on these barracks. I've actually not seen this against Zerg for a really long time. Only if they play roaches. Oh, wow. Wait, I'm actually a little bit shocked. He made 2 tech labs and 3 reactors on his first 5 barracks. Normally, it's straight reactors. All of them, except for the one that makes stim and combat shields. And the reason for that is that Marauders, they simply don't trade very well against Zerglings early on, right? So, you just want Marines for the trade and the DPS. And then you make Marauders later when you really want to go for a good composition. But he's actually making his Marauders very fast. Ghost Academy too. Yeah. Okay. I mean, this does explain some things. It really feels like he's right. He's not even playing super safe. I mean, on this map, you're not gonna die, and he, you know, if he saw an attack was coming, he would probably play it safer. But he is definitely cutting some corners to go straight into the late game. Like, he hasn't actually made a lot of units up until this point. Like, he easily could have been maxed by now. But instead of being maxed, he was 175 supply. And he's going up to 8 command centers, has his Ghost Academy already. So he really is rushing for the late game. Now, to be honest, I feel like in a few minutes is when it's going to start being really interesting. Because up until this point, you know, I can do this too. Like, so far he hasn't done anything that's crazy impressive. He probably has his build order really figured out, which I could copy from him. But he hasn't done any crazy moves or, you know, anything that I don't do. And I feel like from this point on is when he's going to start making the difference. Because what usually happens to me in these situations, and I feel like for you guys it's mostly the same. Like if you look at this map, the map is already more than half covered in creep. The Zerg has probably been able to take a lot more bases than you would against someone like Clem. And now Maru is going to have to play from his little corner of the map, while Zerg has everything that he wants, all the bases that he wants, all the freedom, all the creep. And now I really wonder how he's going to be able to make the difference from here. Because yeah, this is the point where I would usually struggle from personally. Let's see. Actually, these moves, normally they'd be really killer, but because Maru made CC so fast, like look at it. His command center was literally waiting there to land. Like that, I feel like that was pretty much just wasted by Sero. If someone wouldn't make as many CCs as fast as Maru did, that would have been a good move. That's a 4th base down. That's a really big part of the income. In this case, however, his replacement CC was literally hovering over it already. So I guess that is a big benefit of playing like this. If they do roll their Bailings into your base, you don't care that much. Now, I do wonder how he's going to defend the Nidus as well. I feel like he has some turrets up already, right? Yeah, this is a very, very typical TvZ, by the way, in the way that they're playing the late game, is that Sero, he has more income, as you can see here with the red arrows in the bottom overlay. Sero has more income, and Maru has a better army, but less income. So Sero's just trying to crash everything into the economy, go, 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 go. Before Maru really gets set up, and Maru is just trying to take the best trades possible to survive. Like as you can see in their units lost, Maru is already 4,000 resources ahead. And let's see what his setup is. So he has, you know, a few turrets around the edges, none in the natural. He does have a lot of sensor towers, by the way, 3 sensor towers, I believe. No Viking. I feel like he usually adds Vikings at some point. Okay. Oh, a little bit late on the reaction there. That was some uThermal reaction timing. Yeah, and it, you know, it's just like I said, Sero is really trying to YOLO in, crash the economy, and Maru seems to be fine with that. Like, he's not even, you know, defending super heavy, really trying to save those bases. He's just trying to get better trades. You see, by now it's already 5,000 resource disparity. And I do wonder if he's going to add more command centers at some point. Also, one thing that's very interesting to note here, by the way, is that personally, when I stream, when I YouTube, there's always so many people asking about F2. Like, should I be using F2? I thought pro gamers don't F2. Maru here, for the most part, is literally just dragging his entire army around. Like, he has the good setup. That's what a really big difference maker is. He has the good setup. He had the walls at the third. He has the turrets in the main for the Overlord. But besides that, he does tend to drag his entire army along a lot. I do think when he's going to start switching it up at some point by sending like 3-4 medevac hit squads to kill bases. Because even though you have the max efficiency, something I do notice in their games usually, like if Maru or Cure plays really good laze games, they do end up denying bases at some point. Now, so far it hasn't really worked. Maru tried to attack on the left side, but Sarah was ready for it. And yeah, I don't know. There's how many bases are on this map actually? There's nine bases. Like, if Maru would not get any more bases, Sarah would have 10. But obviously the 2 on the bottom right are not very, you know, accessible for Sarah. So Sarah probably going to end up on 9 bases and Maru on 7. Which I think is probably still good for the Zerg. Even if you play this YOLO style, like 9 bases is a lot more than 7. I feel like you usually want to be like within 1 base of the Zerg at least. Like, if you're even, it's pretty good for Terran. Then Zerg is really going to have to play an efficient late game style themselves. Which Serral is really good at, by the way. Which is also why this game is going to be very interesting. Like, I feel like if this was a Zerg that doesn't really play late game well, this game would already be almost over in the favor of Maru. Because he's on 6 bases, he's defended well, he's got himself 14 ghosts. And Maru is probably not going to be A-moved by anything anymore. So from this point on, I already saw some Infestors in production, I believe. Actually, just one. One Infestor, 2 Vipers. From this point on, I feel like Zerg is going to have to play a late game. Which means pretty much Broodlord Infestor. Yeah, I don't think there's anything you can really do other than that to compete with a Terran late game army. Obviously, if the Terran makes mistakes, like if the Terran is too aggressive, you can totally destroy the army with like Link Bane Lurker, like no problem. But if they're sitting back like this and really going for a high efficiency, the only way for you to trade properly is to go for Brutal Infestor. Actually, surprised he didn't scan there. I think he would have killed 2 Lurkers. Maybe he didn't have energy. That happens to me a lot, by the way. That's the #1 reason to not play late games. You run out of energy when you need it for DTs or Lurkers or something. Alright. Another attempt by Cero. If I had to guess, I think now is when Cero is gonna transition. Like, does he have Spires yet? No, he doesn't have Spires yet. I feel like this is the moment where Cero needs to make double Spire. I'm actually surprised he hasn't yet, because usually Cero's pretty on point with the Spire timing. Now, keep in mind that there's context to this series. I think, considering the way Maru plays and the score, it's very likely that Cero has already lost 1 or 2 late games in this series, and he does not necessarily want to go there again. Or maybe he just wants to bait Maru out. Like, that's also a thing. Zerg, in a game like this, no matter how many units they throw away, they are still gonna be maxed. I feel like it's very tempting to take a few good trades, good trade on the left, good trade on the right, and you're like, okay, now I can kill him and go. But Zerg can still be maxed on Ling Bane if they want to. But yeah, Maru is not playing the Cero's hands at all. Like you can see, the supply is close. Obviously, they're both maxed. But the bank is also getting pretty close. Now, there's finally the double Spire. But the bank's getting this close with the way Cero has been playing is not usually a good sign. If you play Lurker Ling Bane against Terran, typically I would say you want to be like 30 supply ahead, or, you know, a really good amount of bank ahead if you're both maxed. But this does seem a little bit too close. So I feel like at this point Maru has already gotten himself into a winning position. Now here's the moves I was talking about, by the way. He's finally denying a base on the right side. And I guess it totally makes sense, because if you cut this map in half, but you remove the bases in the middle, it's 7 base against 7 base. So if you think about it, if Maru does manage to secure the base on the right, he only ever really needs to deny the bases in the middle. The middle left and the middle right. So look at how many workers have been lost this game, actually. 32. Yeah, I guess for a 17-minute game, that's not too crazy at all, right? He's making a lot of Liberators, interestingly enough. He's 3 Vikings, 5 Liberators. And the reason why I think that's interesting is because a really big weakness of the Liberator is simply the Viper. Like, I feel like if you have Liberator siege somewhere and you're ever not paying attention, 1 or 2 Vipers are going to come in. You know, 2 or 4 Liberators are dead. But he's still going to go... Oh, what is that? 7? He's going to go up to 7 Liberators. And I wonder if that has something to do with Cero not transitioning to the late game in time here. Now, obviously, Maru's on double armory. He was playing bio, but now he's going to... Oh, look, here we go. This is what I was waiting for. Maru has recently... And it kind of hurts me because I've been hating on this unit for a very long time. Maru has been transitioning to Thors. And the main reason for that is pretty much that when they make Broodlords, Broodlord Infestor can be really efficient. Wait, look at this, by the way. This is what I mean with the Viper counting Liberators. You either abduct them, but also one Parabomb just killed 1 Lib and made the other 2 orange. Like, that was a pretty good trade for Cero there. But yeah, what I wanted to say, Maru has been making Thors. And it's mostly because Broodlord Infestor, they can trade well against Ghost. But what happens if you have Thors is that the Ghost can hide behind them and they can actually get their abilities off. Normally, if you straight up snipe Broodlords with your Ghost, the Broodlings will just cancel all the snipes. If the Ghosts take damage, the snipe cancels. But if you have Thors to hide behind, it creates... potentially creates a fight where a Ghost can just go ham. And if Ghosts can snipe freely, they will destroy the army. The way you counter the Ghost is basically to get something on top of them. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be 1 Fungal. It could be Banelings. It could just be your units hitting them straight up. And now Maru is actually confident enough to push, which surprises me. I really don't think I would be brave enough to go out on creep here. Let's see. His perfect army for this moment. 10, that's a lot of Siege Tanks, by the way. 10 Siege Tanks, 15 Ghosts, 6 Liberators, 3 Vikings. And a little bit of scraps in bio. Now let me just look at his setup real quick. He actually has some random camps set up everywhere. Like, it doesn't look very impactful, but he has an insane amount of map. Look at the amount of sensor towers on the minimap, by the way. He has like 6 sensor towers. How many is it? 5 sensor towers. Actually, a really good amount of vision. Yeah, he's basically impossible to surprise. And obviously, he does not really want to push further than just denying bases. He already denied an extra base. I was talking before about how you just want to deny the middle bases. He also denied the base in the left over here, which basically puts Serral down to 6 bases against 7. Now, being a base down against Maru, not a place you want to be. Not a place you want to be, I can tell you that. So now he's going to switch to Lib range and Thors. And what I would really like to see is for Maru to lose his army. And then I want to see what he rebuilds. Because I feel like it's really easy as Terran, or as any race really. If you lose your army and you feel like you're in danger, to just spam units. And then sometimes you end up just having a pretty bad army. Like, it's very easy to, you know, you're a late game, you have your factories, you have your starport, you have your ghost academies, but somehow you're still going to be maxed on Marine Marauder medevac, because you just, you know, I might die, I have to make stuff, and then yeah, you spent all your money on bad units, and you're kind of screwed. So here Maru, he actually has a good army composition already, but there's not a lot of Thors, he doesn't have supply for Thors. I think he's also going to sack his SCV soon, but what I really want to see is just a 200 supply of remade units, where he has the option to make the perfect army that he wants. And I want to see what it is. And I know it's going to be Thor Liberator Ghost, but I just want to see how many. Because I actually noticed he doesn't make too many libs. The point of the Liberator, if you guys are wondering, by the way, is that Infestors would pretty much destroy Thor Ghost. Because, like, first of all, Fungals would, you know, kill all the snipes. But besides that, you can also just neural the Thors. And if you neural 6 Thors, just think of the difference, right? If you neural 6 Thors, you gain 36 supply and the opponent loses it. Like, is it a 72 supply difference? It's actually insane. So you need the Liberators to zone Infestors a little bit. But I think I did notice when I was watching some of his games live, is that he doesn't make too many libs. Like, he doesn't want to destroy the Infestors. He really just wants to keep them away. Or if Serral commits, he wants it to not be that good of a trade. Because if there's 2 libs, you can go into it, but you're gonna lose Infestors to it, you know? And then I think he just wants enough Thor Ghosts to be able to, you know, kill the Broodlords, kill the Vipers. And yeah, for Zerg, it's mostly about the Spellcasters. Viper Infestor. Yeah, it gets a bit hard to control sometimes, but if you pull it off, like Neurals on the Thors, Abducts on the Thors, Blinding Clouds on the Thors, like all of those things are absolutely massive if you get the spells off. And sometimes it becomes a little bit of a dance, you know, Ghost against Zerg Spellcasters. Does he have 2 planetaries on the left, or just... Okay, I guess he is gonna make planetaries at some point. And it's actually been sick to watch this slowly unfold, because honestly, it didn't feel like too much has happened, like too many crazy things. Like Maru was defending, and suddenly he decided, okay, I'm winning this game now. And, you know, he took out 2 bases on the left. He completely YOLO'd on creep, or well, YOLO'd. It seemed like he 100% knew what he was doing, of course. And actually got himself into a good spot. Like, Maru Eco is actually better. He's going to get an 8th base. And at this point, it's going to be really hard for Serral. But still, this is still a get. Like, you know, I'm making it sound like it's easy. But the reason I'm making it sound like it's easy is because it's Maru. If I was in this position, I would not really feel like I was winning yet. I would feel like it was maybe an even game. Against Serral, it's probably a losing game, I'll be honest. So I still want to see how he closes it out. Now, I know, you know, it's actually funny that I say this, because you guys have probably seen Maru's nuke against Solar. And some other Maru nukes. Actually, Maru's multiple nukes against Solar, I think. But he actually does never go too crazy on the nukes. Like, as you can see here, he made 1 nuke. I think, yeah, he only has 1 Ghost Academy. So that's actually, you know, nothing important for him at all. He's gonna get some big EMPs on the Infest. Does he have the EMP upgrade, actually? Oh, yeah, I did get it, okay. I didn't see it, actually. And you can see in the production tab that he's actually getting every single upgrade as well. +3 attack. I believe, is that the medevac upgrade? I never even... Yeah, it has to be the medevac upgrade, right? Or something else that I don't know. Let's see, he's actually adding more and more Thors. He hasn't sacrificed too many SCVs yet. I mean, I suppose he is pretty satisfied with where the game is going, right? He's 67 SCVs, he's mining more than Serral, which is not really supposed to be the case. I feel like in my games it happens sometimes that I mine more than the Zerg. But the reason why it happens in my games is that I'm playing like kind of a low-tech army still when Zerg already transitioned. So my army is simply faster. You know, Marine Marauder Bio with some Ghosts. And the Zerg is on Broodlord Infestor, so I can actually get up to more bases. But then what happens is that if you do fight, you get absolutely annihilated. Like, if you trust me, if you fight with Marine Marauder Medevac with some accessory Ghost against Brooded Infestor, you're gonna get absolutely wiped off the map. And Maru has actually got himself into that spot while making a good army. Now look at this army. Look how high-tech this army is. This is actually an incredible army. So, oh, by the way, one thing an important thing that I forgot to mention is that when Maru attacked on the right side with the Marauders, you could tell that he was actually sacrificing the Marauders. And now look at what his army is. He has 2 Marines, and besides that, it's all quality. 14 Ghosts, 8 Tanks, 7 Lips, 6 Thors. I think more Thors in the production too. And he's also making Hellbats with Blue Flame for the Broodlings. So actually we did kind of get, let me scroll out a bit so you can see it all. We did actually get to see Maru's perfect army in the end, right? Because this is what it is. 5 Thors, well actually more Thors than that because I think he lost 2 already. 14 Ghosts, 6 Lips, 8 Tanks. And the tanks are mostly to kill the spores. Tanks are mostly to kill the spores and siege up. Liberators are there for the infestors, 100%. He doesn't want the infestors to come close. And you can see that's why Cero has to be so careful. If those lips were not there, he would have gone forward with the infestors, dropped the big fungal. But still, Cero is controlling this very well here. Actually, I think these trades would be pretty good for Cero. And now Maru's gonna back off. And you can see what he's remaxing with as well. He's getting more Thors. And if you guys remember the Clem POV I did, Clem really went absurd on the Ghost. Maru's actually been staying around that 15 number. Like he had 14 before, now he's 13. And he's not making any more yet. I feel like he might add some more. But yeah, he's actually not going too ham on the Ghost at all. Like he really has his ratio. Seems like he cares more about the Thors. How many Hellbats are we on? 3 Hellbats? Yeah, exactly. Thor Hellbat, that's what I expected. Okay, very interesting. Not too many Ghosts, Thor Hellbat. And apparently it's sufficient enough. I mean, Maru is 7k up in resources lost. Which means he traded 7k better, of course. And by the looks of it, they're gonna mine out the same amount of bases. Like, this is actually a split map game. 8 base against 8 base. They both had the exact same base denied as well. If you look at Maru's 3rd and Cero's 3rd, you can see there's a few mineral patches and both the bases were denied. Okay, I think he got some EMPs off, or he tried to at least. Let me zoom out once again. You can see this whole fight. That's so many Broodlers, by the way. And the Liberators are actually another EMP on those Infestors. Here comes the Viper. Good Parabomb. The Thors are doing a pretty good job. Like, it doesn't look like it, but because of the Liberators, the Thors are actually doing pretty good. You can see the Infestor. It tried to get into range, instantly died. But still, this doesn't look like the best trade to me. Like, look at the resources lost here. Yeah, Cero actually catching up by about 3k resources here. Which makes it even more interesting, because now we can see what Maru's going to do different in the next fights to actually win. Because Maru is going to win this game. Spoilers, by the way, if you guys didn't realize it. But this last trade, and I think, well, the trade before that was kind of even, but also pretty good for Cero. But this last trade was really good for Cero. So what is Maru going to do different? I feel like it could just be micro. Like, a lot of those fights, it looks like it's like a huge decision that changes it. But sometimes it's like, you know, having your Ghost a bit more to the right so they can actually snipe instead of not doing anything. You know, stuff like that. Yeah, so far, in any case, I mean, I didn't expect it to. But walking up this ramp doesn't really seem to work out. But the thing is, that base on the left is the most important base in this game. If Maru breaks that base, he's probably going to win because he'll mine more. So even though it seems crazy to attack there, there is not really any other useful point to attack if you think about it. If Cero was attacking, he would attack the base on the right in the middle because that's the most important one. Now Maru is going to take another angle, which, you know, obviously very smart considering how the other fights went. He does have more Liberators now. He went up to 8 Libs. He also has some more Hellbats. 11 Hellbats. And he doesn't have as many Ghosts anymore. And I think the reason for that is that the fights did not really come down to... yeah, the Ghost not being useful enough. Because the Infestors were countered, right? It seems like he just needs more actual firepower to deal with the insane amount of Broodlords. But the fact that he's not making as many Ghosts... And I know sometimes you could think that Ghosts counter the Broodlords because they snipe, they're good against massive units. But what happens if there's that many Broodlords is there's just too many Broodlings to snipe. Because your Ghosts are getting damaged, Thors are getting picked off really fast. Now this angle seems a bit crazy. He didn't quite get an EMP off yet. Now here come the Liberators to deny the Infestors. And you can already see this fight, it was actually not super clean by Maru. Like, he went in a little bit rushed, but the angle is already a lot better than coming up that freaking small ramp on the bottom. EMP'd all of the infestors. I don't think there's any infestors left with energy. So now the Thors actually have free reign. Now, I mean, it is 10 Thors. 10 Thors against 18 Broodlords. You know, the Broodlords probably win that if microed, but it's actually not that crazy anymore. Now, I hope he doesn't go up this ramp again. This base actually had a lot of minerals left too, so this was actually a good deny as well. Like, this has already been a very successful attack by Maru. You see the Thors are doing fantastic against the Broodlords. The way you usually micro the Broodlords here, by the way, is that you stack them, you let them recharge the Broodlings, and you just one-tap a Thor and you go back. Like, you right-click one Thor, and you go back. That's how I usually win these fights as Zerg. Like, here you can go, Serral's going in, he's probably clicking on that Thor. Actually, he didn't, he targeted Hellbats instead. Oh, look at that nuke, I doubt that's gonna land. Oh, it is actually gonna land. Oh, it actually damaged the Broodlords too. I really thought Serral was gonna get away from that in time. That was actually a big nuke. You know, obviously it didn't kill the Broodlords, but damaging the Thors, you know, probably gonna make Serral run away and sack this base. You also have to appreciate this from Serral, by the way, the insane patience. Like, look at it. If you look at his money and his supply, he's maxed with over 5k in the bank. A lesser Zerg would have tried to make something out of that fight. He would have lost the entire army, and instead he would have been maxed without the bank. Like, you really have to appreciate the patience here by Serral. But yeah, the army by Maru really does the job. Now I wonder from the other side what Serral would have done instead. If he would have to replay this exact game, what would he have done differently? I think, you know, biggest mistakes from Serral here seem to be the spellcaster control. Like, the infestors haven't been too impactful. I think the Viper control has been good. You know, there's been power bombs getting out. I've seen Liberators getting abducted and stuff. But I haven't really seen the infestors being super useful yet. Now, obviously, you have to realize he's playing as the best late game Terran in the world. And that is not easy. But I do wonder if he has a way to make the infestors more impactful, what that would look like then. Now, Serral's pretty much back of his perfect army already. He is on 25 Broodlords right now. One thing I actually wanted to say is that he was very low on Corruptors this entire time. And I know Corruptors are really bad against Thors and Ghost, but I thought it could have been nice because Maru kept sieging his Liberators on the army all the time. And I feel like if he had some Corruptors, he would at least force Maru to be more careful already and take it slower. Now, this looks like a massive fight. Maru's actually just gonna go in here. I want to see this zoomed out. I didn't know this was a thing you could do, just walk in there. Excuse me. I think there has to be Neural, right? Yeah, of course he has Neural. He hasn't used it yet. Oh, he didn't actually get a fungal off. It looked like he was gonna fungal the Ghost, but instead he got a fungal off on the Thors. Now, it looked like the Broodlords are still winning this fight. Not sure if it's gonna be efficient enough for Serral, though. Keep in mind, Maru denied 2 bases on the left. Serral actually does not have a lot of income at this moment. And even though the fight looked pretty good, yeah, the army for Maru just seems a bit too insane. He's making 7 Thors at once as well, by the way. This is, I think he has 9 factories. 9 factories, guys. 4 Hellbats, 7 Thor production. I mean, this is actually crazy. I legit have an emote on my Twitch that's like a Thor, but it's like a trash can instead. Because Thors never do anything when I make them. But this replay is kind of making me want to build Thors. Probably gonna regret it still, but he's making them look really good. Now, Serral only has 1 more fight left in him. And the reason you can just see that is because of the money. These based on the left were denied. If I'm gonna look at the income, it's gonna look real sad. 400 minerals a minute. Now, obviously, Maru is not looking fantastic either. But Maru actually has this base that he kind of forgot about to mine from, I think. Because he's sending these SCVs away. He's gonna mine from here. I think he totally forgot that he had this base to mine from. Just that's like a YouTube challenge, you know? Don't mine from your bases while beating a world champion. Don't think I could fulfill that challenge, but Maru apparently can. How many Thors? He has 12 Thors and he's making 4 more. So yeah, he wants the Ghost to get an EMP on the infestors, and then he lets the Thors do the job. I really wonder if getting Lurkers here would have been something good. Like, Lurkers do really well against Thors. I think maybe if he made Lurkers in this last remix, it could have been used. Here you can see the Neurals, by the way. The Neural Thors absolutely destroying Maru's Thors. This was a really good example of what I was talking about. If you get the Neural on the Thors, look how much damage those did. Thors do so much damage to the ground, by the way, if you're actually in range. Look. It's gonna be a bit hard to see, maybe. When are the neurals going off? I think now, look. These two Thors are Serals. All those hits are 60 damage. You see, Maru's Thors are actually getting disintegrated by the Thors that were neuraled. If you ever get those off, it's huge. If I really think if there was another fight where Serral got really good neurals, Maru would have just had to get out of there because he would not win that. Oh, Maru actually took the base on the left too. Oh, that's where he was going to with the SCVs, right, alright. That's also kind of rude. And yeah, at this point, like that fight was actually pretty good for Serral at the end, I think. But he just didn't have enough stuff. As you can see, Maru up 12k in resources lost. Interestingly enough, he's still making Thors. I think you would kind of think in these low econ situations, it would be better to make mostly Ghosts. And the reason for that is that, yeah, Thors, they do have a hard counter. If he only has Thors, 7 neurals from 7 infestors, which, you know, Serral could have. Oh, actually, it does have 8 infestors. They could absolutely destroy the army. So I would think maybe, efficiency-wise, it could be better to make Ghost. But yeah, Maru just really likes his late game Thors, man. And, you know, why not? They're completely winning this game for him. I am mostly surprised how strong the army looked. Because I feel like with most army compositions, you can, you know, go in. And if you take a really good fight, it looks good. But it's not like he set up like an amazing fight, right? Like he just knew my army is good. I'm gonna go fast before he gets to set up something perfect. Like once again, here you can see he makes a concave, right? You have to realize that it's not completely YOLO. He makes a concave, but besides that, he's really confident that he can just go in. You can see he has a couple ghosts on the top looking for an EMP, and he's gonna get it. Looks like EMP that. Okay, yeah, that's it. Instantly as well. The EMP on all the infestors. And I mean, Serral knew he was dead, but that was the final nail in the coffin. And wow. Once again, guys, the Maru late game it provides. I didn't feel like I would see Serral, you know, let's be honest, kind of get owned like that in the late game by a Terran. But Maru makes it happen. Honestly, he's a perfect late game player. He makes every matchup look very, very doable in the late game. Yeah. Completely different approach from Clem by the wall as well. Last week I told you guys, Clem very aggressive, Maru passive. And Maru made this game look super controlled. No hesitation at all. Knew what he was doing, knew how to win the game. And that was it. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Pretty long video, I know. If you sat through all the applause for you. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time. Adios.